on your radio. It is at a fan upstate. Spectacular to have you, my dear friends. Welcome in. Great to have the Armada alongside for another 4-hour-long sports talk extravaganza. I am Rob Brown. Across from me on the other side of the metaphorical glass, in charge of this and every radio program that you've ever enjoyed. The Lamar Jackson of executive producers, ladies and gentlemen. The great. I don't know why don't get me wrong. Hype up Lamar. What a fourth quarter. 3 tutties in the fourth quarter to go win the game. Spectacular. Let's not pretend Joey B didn't go for 400 and 4 tutties too.
I was going to say, don't put that Lamar Jackson stuff on me. I don't want none of that.
No.
I'll be Patrick Mahomes, so he's having a down year, still undefeated. And I don't want to be a guy who's obviously protected by the refs, a team that's protected by the refs, a team that gets all the calls in Baltimore Ravens, and a team that never gets the calls in the Cincinnati Bengals. Why would I want to be a Baltimore Raven? I'm surprised that there isn't an outcry about how that the Ravens and the refs are in each other's pockets, because it's obvious that that's going on. And it's sad that the state of the NFL today, we have to deal with such a miscarriage of judgment that Joe Burrow could get beat up the way he did, and the refs just swallowed the whistles and tucked the yellow in the pants and went, okay, Lamar and guys, we got you.
Does anyone else want to address that, or are we're just gonna?
Oh, I mean,
gonna let that one go
again. You know, it's okay when it's against the Chiefs, but when there's blatant battery going on the field, Joe Burrow getting beat up, and the refs like, no, I ain't see none. Snitches, you know, I ain't see nothing. And you're just gonna pretend like that didn't happen.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not watch the fourth quarter of this game. I slept.
There are plenty of clips, including one that I sent to you, where Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit and the referee in the booth are clearly frustrated by the no calls. It's one of the last things I sent to you.
It sure is. You know what? I'm down to listen to it real quick, because I
have your volume up. If you just want to just throw it up there. The fact we can't hear it on the air, though, it's not, you know.
Well, you're gonna have to turn it way up, because the volume on this thing is
okay.
Way down.
Okay.
It takes a lot to get him knocked out, but this is a big hit on a blindside blitz for the corner, Marlon Humphrey. See his facial expression. Takes a big hit, and he's back out in the field, but on his way back down.
I mean,
there's also a hit earlier that where they just tore him up, hit him in the back, probably a few seconds after the ball was thrown, and roughing was not called.
I'm comfortable with saying, if that happens to Mahomes, Humphreys is going to prison.
If it happens to Lamar Jackson, the same thing this happens to the majority of quarterbacks across the league. Well, now Trevor Lawrence, he can get beat up like that.
Like, I want to disagree. I don't think that's, so that we're clear. If this is Mahomes, that man has a jury trial set with capital punishment on the line.
If you're watching just the first part of the video where he gets hit in the face, there's also the referee in the booth says there was obvious defensive holding, and then hands to the face according to the rules. That should have been a penalty. So
I'm watching this hit, and I'm just kind of scrubbing it back and forth. Ball's gone, and Humphreys takes another 3 steps before he gets to Joe Burrow. And yeah, there's no. I would agree. I think that is based on what we consider roughing the passer in the year 2024. Yeah. I would say that absolutely qualifies. I would say that I still to this day agree with the take that Cam Newton had years and years ago. That is, if referees consider you a quarterback who is a running quarterback, whether you are or are not, if you are considered a running quarterback, you do not get the protection from the whistles that other pocket passer quarterbacks do. Cam Newton said that 10 years ago.
No, that's
and
all.
I think he's spot on.
That's all well and good. Joe Burrow, not a running quarterback.
I don't disagree. And I think that's a blown call, so that we're very clear. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I absolutely think that is a blown call. And I think, again, this is one of those spots that NFL fans or at least the ones that do believe that Patrick Mahomes has been protected in years gone by. And don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely one of them. And that's not to say it's a bad thing. But if you're one of these people that believes that Patrick Mahomes is protected, and not just Mahomes, but the star quarterbacks of the league, then you've got to be egregiously upset about that. By the way, just so we're clear, because I do think numbers are important, Cincinnati Bengals called 3 penalties for 23 yards. The Baltimore Ravens penalized 11 times for 81. So your unfair officiating, and unless you're going to argue that the 3 came in more impactful times than the 11, the Ravens definitely had more whistles and yardage called.
Fine, except when it matters, when the entire nation saw the face mask at the end of the game and watching it over and over again as Joe Burrow tries to throw the ball and dude just nearly rips his helmet off and no call. His helmet moves, dude. I mean, it goes forward.
Oh, I'm not saying
like
it did. I haven't.
Yeah.
Send it to me, because I honestly, like I said, I'm a bad radio host this morning. The wife and I went out last night. We grabbed a couple of glasses of wine. We had a little charcuterie dinner on a Thursday night, and then we went home and watched some Clemson v. Bananas. Some Clemson. The boys had a ball last night.
By the way,
the boys had a blast.
I sent you a video from LASIK.com.
I got to tell you, the LASIK PR people are on fire right now. They have been doing nothing but sending out clips from the NFL with like LASIK discount coupons attached to them. It's pretty spectacular.
Well, you got to see this because it's a closer look at what happened on that 2-point conversion.
LASIK.com. Better vision, better calls. Yes, we're still offering NFL refs free LASIK. Yeah, I don't. So this is one of those spots where I'm watching it right now. Definitely a blow to the head. If nothing else, considering what the NFL has been calling. The helmet
is moving. I mean, it's trying to pop off his head.
Based on what we have seen called in the NFL in the last couple of years, I think if you're not going to call a face mask, because he doesn't technically, and you guys know technically is important, he doesn't technically, not a bouquet, grab the face mask of Joe Burrow. His hand kind of slides down it.
It's hands to the face of the quarterback. You can't hit a quarterback high. You can't hit.
That's what I was about to
say.
Yeah. What I was about to say was, I don't think you call a face mask on that. But considering we have seen in the last couple of years hitting the quarterback in the head, even if it is an accident, getting called for roughing, I would say, based on what we have seen the last couple of years, that I would qualify this as a missed shot to the head call. Is it egregious? No. If I was creating what I would consider the ideal football world, would I think that this should be considered a penalty? No. But based on the actual football world that we live in, yeah, it's hard to say that this wouldn't be roughing the passer hands to the head. Do I think the Ravens were getting protected last night? Again, I have not watched in its entirety the second half of this game. I watched the end of Clemson v. Bananas on YouTube, and I went to bed at like 10 o'clock last night. So I didn't watch the back half. I watched like maybe 4 or 5 minutes of the start of the third quarter, and then I was out like a light. I have not watched the end of it. Do I think the Ravens are a protected team? No, I don't. I don't think the Ravens are a protected team. I don't think the Ravens are getting the benefit of the doubt from the Stripes.
Oh, without a doubt, they're one of the most protected teams in all the NFL, maybe in NFL history.
No, you're wrong.
Yeah, no,
you're just wrong, dude.
No, I'm not.
There were 3 calls to 11 last night.
I'm not. You clearly just stated
sure
like seconds ago that you didn't watch it.
Sure. I don't. Again, you just sent me 2. And I'm not disagreeing with you. Those 2 calls were missed calls. I 100% agree.
I just sent you another one, by the way.
I do
think
from
LASIK, because these guys now I know.
I told you the LASIK PR people are on FRIYAY
awesome.
right now.
Yeah.
They are absolutely killing the game. I did see that one. I did see that one last night, or this morning watching the highlights. There is one where, who was it? Was it Watson, their tight end, who got just molested at the line? Joey B throws a laser down the middle. I will also say perhaps a bit of dramatic acting there, but hey, gamesmanship. If it helps you get the call, then go on, right? I'm not disagreeing. Those are egregious calls. However, missed calls in a game does not a narrative build around the entire setup. And I do not think the Baltimore Ravens are one of the protected teams in the NFL.
I want to see all the memes, all the videos, all the players kissing the refs, all that kind of stuff, because Baltimore obviously has the same treatment.
What this comes down to is Lonzo is upset about the narrative built around the Chiefs.
Oh, no, I just want consistency, which is what you want too. I mean, obviously, you want consistency. I want consistency.
Of course.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
This is about Lonzo's Chiefs having a narrative built around them that they are a protected football team.
I don't know why this is about me. We're talking about Baltimore. I mean, that's what we're doing.
But
we're talking about the special treatment that Baltimore gets. Every game in, game out, year after year, Baltimore gets all of these non-calls and special treatment from the referees, and it should not go unnoticed, and it should be punished somehow.
Again, Lonzo's upset that there's a narrative around his team.
I know how.
And so the strategy
I know how. Let's make sure that they just don't win any playoff games. Let's do that.
But it is what it is. Do I think the Ravens are a protected team? No, I don't. I think there are protected teams. I think to some degree the Chiefs are a bit protected. I think the 49ers are protected. I think up until recent years, the Dallas Cowboys spent more years as a protected team than anybody else in the NFL. Do I think that it is a league-wide conspiracy to promote one team or the next? No, I think, like I said, it's just the Jordan rules, right? Like we talked about this earlier in the week. There is an inherent bias because these referees they're people too. They're going to get it wrong. And for a lot of them, I'm assuming they're also football fans, right? Like I don't think you get a job in officiating football if you don't at least kind of like football. I think that there are tendencies inherent to protect things that are important, whether they are to you emotionally, fiscally, whatever. You protect things that are important to you. And guys like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson are important to the league. But let me be very clear. I don't think there's some league-wide conspiracy.
Apparently is not.
I don't think the Cincinnati Bengals are on the level of the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of financial importance to the league. No. Are they a good team? Yes. Do I love Joe Burrow? I absolutely do.
Okay, so you're saying he's on the lower level and he's unprotected. He's one of the stars of the league. You don't let that kind of thing happen.
No.
It will not go unnoticed.
No, I think this is going to be a conversation point on a lot of shows today, and I think it should. And I have said before, and I'll say again, not to sound deeper than it is, talking about football like a bunch of meatheads at 6:15 in the morning, but the things that take place in the dark can only change if you shine a light on them, right? This is why.
Exactly. And that's what I just did. And now you're trying to, nothing to see here.
But
please,
I don't think,
please, nothing to see here.
I don't know. It's not what I'm doing. I literally agreed with you 3 times. Like, no, I think the difference is, like I said, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make this sound any kind of way. You are upset that there's a narrative about your team. And so the way you have elected to defend against that narrative is to try to cast the same aspersion on other teams.
By the way, just want to point out, not upset. I'm just using the narrative to point out how dumb the other narrative is. That's all I'm doing. There's blatant disregard for Joe Burrow's life last night because the referees, the referees, they tried to rip his head off and tried to break his back. We saw that
on the list of face mask calls. That was not trying
hands
to
to
rip his
face.
head off.
It's not about the face mask. About hands to face. The fact that it's a good thing he got out of there without losing an ear or getting a nose broke or something. The way he got hit.
ladies and gentlemen, the Emmy for outstanding dramatic performance goes to. I mean, let's not pretend that his helmet was facing the wrong way at the end. He got raked. He didn't get
by the way,
spun around.
All you Ravens fans coming at me on the stream, listen, you guys say this about the Chiefs. I'm going to say it about the Ravens, and the nation saw it last night.
Let's be clear. These aren't Ravens fans. These are just NFL people.
No, they are Ravens.
No,
fans.
they're not. I don't think you understand.
They are.
All right, let me put this into context.
Yeah, one of those guys talks about the Ravens every day, so they definitely are. You're not even looking at what I'm talking about.
No,
like a referee.
That's good. I do need LASIK. I really do want to get LASIK. Do you think if I tell LASIK I'm trying to get a career as an NFL ref, they'll give me the
Here's the first thing I think they'll say is you're in a dark room wearing sunglasses. Maybe that's a preventative thing.
No, they'd go,
maybe,
damn, you look cool. You look cool. So I have said for the last couple of years in a row now, I have said about Clemson, there is an image outside of America or outside of Clemson, around America. There's an image about you, about your school, about your head coach. There is an image about Dabo Swinney that exists everywhere except here. It is easy for people to fall into their bubble, their echo chamber, and only hear what is in their immediate vicinity. There is a popular perception about Dabo Swinney and about Clemson that exists outside of the upstate of South Carolina. They think that Dabo Swinney is a hoke. They think that he's corny, that he's a cheese ball. They think that he's not that good. They think this, that. And I have said for the coming up on 5 years that I have been here in this market, working on this station, doing shows in this area. If you're a Clemson fan, who gives a damn? Who cares? Who cares what everybody outside of the upstate thinks? Who cares what everybody outside of your program thinks? Who cares what everybody thinks away from your school? There is only one group of people whose opinion about Dabo Swinney matters, and that's Clemson fans. That's it. That's the only people who matter. The same thing I would say is true about the perception about your team, about the Kansas City Chiefs. The perception outside of Chiefs fans is that this team is protected. This team gets the benefit of the doubt, that this team gets preferential treatment. The conspiracy theory about the schedule being around Taylor's schedule so that Taylor can come to 13 out of the 17 games, I think is accepted at this point. But it shouldn't matter to you. Just like I've told Clemson fans, be Ric Flair, be the bad guy. Look at him and go, all right, well, get on our level. I don't know what you want me to say. You're upset about it? Get on our level. Do what we do, and then maybe one day you'll be treated that way.
Ravens fans, you should be ashamed of that victory last night. You should be. You should probably not even count it. It was so bad. So bad. It's got to hurt your hearts. I don't know why he brought Clemson up.
If anybody wants to talk to Lonzo, 844-326-3663. 844-FAN-FONE. You can text us 71307. Start your text with FAN, 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 FAM. We'll read them on the air. We got a lot to get to, kids. We got to look up and down the college football and NFL schedule. We got the NBA in full tilt right now. Victor Wembanyama's, I think he's actually an alien. Like, I don't think it's like a brand anymore. I think he actually is an alien. We'll talk some shooty hoops later in the game. 9 o'clock, we got Kevin and John from the Move the Chains podcast. Set us up for the high school football weekend. That's all coming up on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. You know what I need to pull? I got Marty to record us one of those bumps. Hey, it's Marty Smith. You're listening to the Rob Brown Show. I need to pull it and send it over to you.
You should do that. I'm glad you remembered a week later. At least you remembered. I mean, you know.
Currently it's 65 degrees.
Well,
I'm an orthopedic surgeon, board certified.
Meet Dr. John Herzog, who's really done his share of knee and hip replacements. But these days, he's encouraging his patients to look at regenerative medicine options, now available at QC Kinetics.
I'm kind of the anti-surgeon right now, and a lot of my buddies, if they hear me talking, they're going to give me a call.
Dr. Herzog says advances in regenerative medicine can give your achy joints lasting relief, using highly concentrated healing agents from your own body to repair and restore damaged tissue.
We take the fluid out of you, we concentrate it, and put it in an area where they couldn't normally get to and facilitate healing.
Are you suffering from constant pain due to arthritis or injury? Maybe it's time to look at alternatives to drugs and surgery at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in these exciting treatments.
What could be more natural than using your own body to heal yourself?
Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772.
Hosting a holiday party? Then Social Latitude Playground and Pub is your answer for a season of fun. No party is too big or too small. Need the perfect gift card for all ages? Who wouldn't want a gift card for the place voted the best restaurant at this year's Artist Fair? Learn more at sociallatitude.com.
I'm Brian Tedesco, CEO of Blaupunkt America, the pioneers of the car stereo. Today, we're not just about sound systems. We are revolutionizing the e-bike scene with Blue Dot Bike. Thanks to AmericanEagle.com, our online presence now features a dynamic e-commerce website that showcases the quality and affordability of our foldable e-bikes. And our collegiate e-bikes, just perfect for the college fanatic. These e-bikes offer a new way to experience freedom on two wheels, no matter your age. When we needed a top-notch website to match our cutting-edge e-bikes, we turned to AmericanEagle.com. They made the impossible seem easy, tackling digital challenges like pros. Check out the Blue Dot Bike website to see AmericanEagle.com's amazing work in action. Need the best in website and digital marketing solutions? AmericanEagle.com is your go-to. They've been a game changer for us, and they can be for you too. Visit AmericanEagle.com or call 877-WEB-NOW1. That's 877-WEB-NOW1.
Sponsored by eBay. Don't mean to tell Mike business, but it's on Twitter, okay? It's not fake news. Mike got his car stolen. So go find the thing. I wouldn't tell his bags. I wasn't letting Mike my car. I said bags, Mike got his car stolen.
On your radio at 97.7 FM, 1330 AM.
I told his bags, thank you for letting him your car. Y'all have a beautiful day.
Your smart speaker, USA Play 97 The Fan Upstate. On your HD radio at WFBC HD3. This one more time and on your computer at thefanupstate.com. Talk to Robin Lonzo. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FAN.
This is something that's a bit of a throwaway, but I also adore it more than I can tell you. For those of you that are familiar with the online community known as Reddit, Reddit, it's effectively a user-driven conglomeration site, okay? You go here and there's a subreddit, they call it, which is just a spin-off page of the main page of Reddit for anything and everything you can think of. It is a place where fans of anything you can think of, and when I say anything, I mean damn near anything, can gather and have one online page that they can share things, have conversation, yada, yada, yada. And that includes the National Football League. The National Football League has a subreddit page that has 11 million members on it. 11 million football fans from around the globe come to this page, and it is a place that they can gather, they can discuss, they can debate, they can post memes, whatever they want to do. It's just a wide open page. Do not go to it during work. Not that it's like over the top, but it's just there's no censors on it. It has very little censor or moderatorship on it. Anyway, one of the things that regularly happens on Reddit is what is called an AMA, an Ask Me Anything. And on an AMA,
well, who's answering?
Whoever is the person. It's like basically
who decides it's time to ask? Someone's got to be in charge, right?
I'll explain it.
Okay.
So the way it works is a person, an individual, an ex-player, an ex-coach, a commentator, anybody that has any level of celebrity within that subject, and in this case, the NFL, but it could be anything, can get on Reddit, can orchestrate and organize an AMA, and it's basically just an internet forum. So you can get on there and you can type your question and paste it to the website, and then that person can answer. And usually, with the biggest names, it is organized and orchestrated by a PR team, right? So like the PR team will set up the AMA, and at a specified time, the subject of the AMA will sit down with the PR team and take questions from people on the internet. And now, as you can imagine, sometimes that can get a little squirrely. Sometimes it can get a little sideways. Now, the concept of the AMA is ask me anything. It does not have to be dialed in to the subject of the thing. Kirk Herbstreit did one during this offseason and spent more time answering questions about not football than football. You can ask football questions, but you can also say, hey, Kirk, what's your favorite food and why, or whatever. Well, a couple of days ago, as I was scrolling through Reddit, as it is a wonderful news compilation site for the internet, I came across one that was titled, Lonzo, hi, I'm Ndamukong Suh, defensive tackle who has played 13 seasons in the NFL. Ask me anything. You want to guess how this went?
Why'd you step on their head? Questions like that. I'd be.
Oh, let me just.
Have you been to anger management?
Let me dramatically read you some of the
fit
questions.
On a plane. There's a lot of questions.
Here are some of the questions. In fact, here's a handful of the questions that hit Ndamukong Suh before he even sat down to start answering questions. The first one comes from a Reddit user named Break Our Bones, who asked the question, Ndamukong, have you ever heard the famous nursery rhyme? Roses are red, violets are blue. Unsportsmanlike conduct in Ndamukong Suh. Number 2, from a Reddit user Thunderclies. Why did you stomp that guy? End of question. Just that guy. Why did you stomp that guy? From Reddit user Succubus. Quote, hey, Ndamukong, loved...
Succubus.
No, it's not spelled that way. It's Reddit. You get to use your own username. They spelled it Succubus.
Oh, as in.
There you go.
There you go. All right. Why are you assuming it's a he?
Hey, Sue, loved watching you throughout your college and NFL career. My question is, can you rank these wonderful memories in order of most memorable to least? Shoving Evan Dietrich Smith into the ground and stomping on his arm, kicking Matt Schaub in the groin, low blocking John Sullivan, stepping on Aaron Rodgers' calf, kicking Alfred Morris's helmet off when he was lying on the ground, choking out Ryan Mallett, and horse collar tackle on Zach Zenner. Reddit user New Structure 9899 said, who thought this was a good idea? Which is a wonderful question. Reddit user Night Movies 2 said, of all the players that you stomped on, which one was the most worth it? At Reddit user NY Jet Legend N Reed, quote, did you get mad when Cam called you Donkey Kong Sue, or did you think it was hilarious? Reddit user Drunk Coward of Death, did you ever attempt to intentionally injure a player? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark.
What was his name again?
Drunk Coward of Death.
Okay, all right.
It's a good one. Reddit user Redditan. Oh, this will be fun. Yeah, I completely agree. Captain J.L. Picard said, who is on your PR team and why do they hate you? ... Or are they just stupid? Fair question. Reddit user Chunky Explosion said, quote, have you considered taking up winemaking in retirement? I suspect you'd be a natural.
My favorite so far.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a real good one. Follow-up question from Reddit user Chris Bosch is a great raptor. Follow-up question, Ndamukong Suh. If you had a bar, how cheap would the shots be? That's great. Reddit user Bang Tanum said, how much did you hate Jay Cutler? Another Reddit user said, do you remember when you stomped that one player and then proceeded to lose? Which was followed by 99 comments of, which one? Texter said, which one of your extracurricular fouls after the whistle was your favorite? Here's another one. When you were suspended for bashing Evan Dietrich Smith's head into the ground 3 times and then stomping on his arm, you never really apologized to anyone. And when questioned about it, you just said, it's between me and the man upstairs. My question is, do you think he's ticked off at you? Which I think is a fair question. Texter said, where in the top 5 dirtiest players in NFL history do you think you belong? 1 or 2? Texter said, do you feel like your reputation as a player ever hurt your playing career? Let's see. There were some great ones out there. My point is, nothing deeper than this is hilarious. Damakong, what's your favorite song and why is it Stomp by the Brothers Johnson? Great question. Damakong, if you could do it all over again, would you stomp Matt Schaub in the bleep even harder? Damakong, are your head stomping days behind you, or should we be terrified of public places? I don't have any take here. I don't have any sophistry to share with you. This is just the funniest thing I saw on the internet this week. It's just the best thing I saw on the internet. This man got online and thought, you know what? I think NFL fans will want to hear from me, Damakong Suh. And I think they will provide me with a litany of thought-provoking and wonderful questions about my time both as a player and my time after my career came to its conclusion. And instead, it is literally page after 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 page of NFL fans coming up with increasingly more smart-ass ways to remind Damakong Suh that he stepped on a lot of players.
Okay, did he respond?
Not to many of them.
Okay, but he responded to some.
There were some, so there were people who asked genuine questions.
Because I'm guessing when you ask me anything, you people are probably expecting an answer here and there.
So one of the things that has been a discussion for years is that if you do an AMA, you are expected to answer the anything of the Ask Me Anything. There was one a couple of years ago with Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson did an AMA as he had a movie coming out, right? And so he went into the movies subreddit and did an AMA. And people were asking Woody Harrelson a lot of questions about his life. And Woody Harrelson's a guy that's got some baggage in his history, right? And people were asking about it. Like, hey, why did you do this thing that is now considered shady, yada, yada, yada. And he just kept responding with, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about my upcoming movie. And he got busted up because of it. People were like, that's not what an AMA is. That's a press tour. Just do a press tour. So Damakong Suh did answer some questions, like Reddit user Who Cares 1944 said, what was your beef with Aaron Rodgers? Damakong Suh responded by saying, I wouldn't say I had any beef. He was just an opponent at the end of the day. And I'm assuming he has beef with me and doesn't like me because I hit him so hard. And we ended up beating up on them, especially late in his career, late in my career. So you got to ask him that question about me. Of course, Reddit user Anushing83 said, quote, remember when you tried to plant your foot into his legs while appealing suspension and had the nerve to say you didn't realize it because your feet were cold? Maybe that's why he has beef with you. No further response from Damakong Suh. Reddit user Ethereum777 said, how did your time in Detroit affect your perspective with regards to performing community service for those in need? It was well documented. You always gave back to Detroit and the surrounding areas. So here we will always be thankful of that. Damakong Suh did respond to that. He said it affected me a lot. I got to be really ingrained to that community and still feel a close relationship with everybody in Detroit and in the schools I supported and the people that I supported. And I still feel like I'm part of the fabric of the community, end quote. Like, he answered a lot of questions. Just none about stomping people directly in the grapes. You get me? So that's pretty good. One Reddit user did ask him, what quarterback do you not regret stomping on? He didn't answer that question either. Anyway, if you want to read that, go to the Reddit NFL subreddit. It's, what's the word I'm looking for here? Freaking hilarious. Take a break. Back after this. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate. Oh, hello, Christina Caruso, the apple of my eye. Happy Friday, buddy. I hope you and your worthless husband and your beautiful children are all very well. Of course, as always. And thanks again for coming to St. Augustine. You're amazing people. And Dan, look at this. It's like a college reunion up in here. Danny, what's up, handsome? How you doing, big dog? Got my entire college fraternity circle coming up in here today. Miss you guys. Welcome to the party.
Florida on Central Time?
Where I went to school is. Where I grew up is not. Scratch that, reverse it. Where I went to school is not. Where I went to school is Eastern. Where I grew up is Central. Florida is split about 10 minutes west of Tallahassee. So the Panhandle is Central, and everything from Tallahassee down is Eastern. Ambulance hits Oregon cyclist, then charges him nearly $2,000 for a ride to the hospital.
Sounds about right.
TGI Fridays reports that they have over $50 million in unused gift certificates in circulation.
Used to go there a bunch when their apps were so cheap, especially like on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And we would just all order a bunch of the endless apps and just all share.
Yep. When I was a bartender and we got off of work at 2 a.m., TGI Fridays was 24/7. And so, like, pretty much everybody that worked at the bar, once we were done cleaning and closed up, we would all go to Fridays pretty much 7 nights a week and just smoke endless apps. There is nobody I would want to trade places with less than a 3 a.m. TGI Fridays bartender.
But they allowed
But they made a buttload of money because the only people they're serving are other bartenders.
Ah, okay.
Coming up on the show today, we got Kevin and John from the Moving the Chains pod coming up at 9 o'clock in the AM portion of the day. I am working on seeing if we can get our dude Chris Miller in here today. I know he is he's signed up busy because, and this may shock you, the South Carolina Gamecocks are they're busy this week.
He also does other things.
He does.
Especially on Friday nights, I believe.
I believe that he consistently and repeatedly wins South Carolina Sports Broadcaster of the Year awards. So he's a very busy person. And I got to tell you, you know how I know he's good? Because I keep coming in second place.
Wow, that's probably the most arrogant thing you've ever said on the air.
Hey, man, we've won 3 out of 4.
No, you know how I know he's good?
Yeah, if he beats me every year, he's good.
He beats me every year. That's pretty. That's something a guy who's wearing sunglasses inside would say.
You get mad at Kobe Bryant when Kobe said, "I'm the best"? No, you went, "Yeah, you are."
He wasn't. So no. Why would I get mad at that?
I have. All right, real quick. We won't hang on this. It's going to circle back around for the audio blitz later on today. Can I tell you I have found a subsect of the internet that I have fallen in love with?
Dark web?
No. Yes, but for different reasons. All right, I can't say that. That's a joke. Okay? Haha, funny. Rob's funny guy.
It's a 1%er thing.
It's a joke.
We'll never know about it.
So there is a subsect of the internet that I have fallen in love with. The subsect of the internet I have fallen in love with is old basketball players telling stories about old basketball playing days. It is my favorite thing going right now. My Instagram reels, about 4 out of every 5 videos. You know, you got your algorithm, and as you like videos and you share videos, whatever, you know, your social media, they pick up on the things that you like and that you don't like. So they show you more of what you like and less of what you don't like. And don't get me wrong. It's just to keep you addicted to scrolling on their app. Sure. But it works, or else they wouldn't do it. Because of the videos that I have liked and shared with other people, half my Instagram reels right now are just old basketball players telling old basketball stories about other old basketball players. I've got like 4 that is in the audio blitz today. I don't know if we'll get to all of them. There's one from, oh, now I got to pull it up one from Jamal Mashburn. You remember Jamal Mashburn? There's one from Jamal Mashburn that is a story about about Larry Bird during the 1992 Dream Team run, or maybe it was the 96 Dream Team, or whichever one it was. Dream Team or Dream Team 2. But there's a story about Mashburn when they brought in the guys that were on the college side of that roster that year to play the guys that were the NBA side of that roster. And he tells a story about Larry Bird talking smack and basically telling the college kids what he was going to do with the basketball before he did it, and the amazement that they had. I got one. John Sally tells a hilarious story about Michael Jordan. I have stumbled, I don't know how, into this world of Instagram where it's just old basketball players telling the funniest damn stories about the playing days. I got one from Shaq. He and Chuck Barkley were getting after it one day early in Shaq's playing days. He said, I like Chuck, but Chuck was also a physical guy, and me and Chuck would, we'd get into it a little bit. He said, during a game, I got into Chuck's ribs a little bit. Chuck turned around and threw a basketball at me. He said, I was ready to knock that bleep's head off. He said, we were about to get at it. And Chuck's mom called me after the game. It was like, hey, y'all knock that bleep off. He goes, when the moms get involved, you can't go like that no more, right? I mean, it's freaking hysterical.
Still, I'm curious why Charles Barkley's mom would have Shaq's number.
Shaq's mom called Chuck Barkley too. The mom's crossed.
Okay.
The mom's crossed the street.
Okay, because I was,
Chuck's mom called Shaq, said, Shaq, knock it off. Shaq's mom called Chuck, said, Chuck, knock it off. You boys get along, hug it. Literally told them, hug it out. And I don't care if you're a 7'2" dominant center, one of the greatest of all time to play the 5. When mama calls and said, handle your business, knock this crap off, you knock the crap off. Spectacular. So we'll play you some of those stories later on. I've also got, we have more Xavier Leggett sound today. That's always great. We're going to talk about that later on in the show. Again, Kevin and John, 9 o'clock. Next hour of the show, water cooler cheat sheet coming up to start the top of the hour. And then we'll see what happens after that. Do have a couple of other things. We got Monday Night Football last night. We talked about that. Are the Bengals done? I think they're done.
It was Thursday Night Football.
That's what I said, right?
Yeah.
I definitely said Thursday Night Football
no, you didn't.
On Friday morning.
Don't take us back to Tuesday. It's Friday.
I definitely said Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. I think the Bengals are done. Or if they're not done, they cannot lose another game. I think that they are their margin for error has been exhausted. There is no path back from this that doesn't involve, I'm not going to say being perfect, but they cannot afford to lose to anyone who is not a bona fide Super Bowl contender the rest of the ride.
Thanks to the outcry of the world, including on this program earlier today, they are now going to get all the calls the rest of the year, and they're going to come back.
6-4 go the Cincinnati Bengals right now. They are third place in that division. The problem is that they are a full 3 games back. Here's the interesting thing. The Bengals are 1-4 at home. They are 1-4 at the house. They lost at home to New England to open the year. That's all we knew. That's I think where we all knew kind of the Bengals might be in trouble. They lost to the Commanders at home. That, at the time, felt like it might be a bad loss. Not for me. I told you the Commanders were going to be damn good this year because I know ball. But you lost to the Commanders. You lost to the Ravens at home once already. Now you've lost to them on the road. You lost to the Eagles at the house. Like, they're 1-4 at the house. That's not great, man. It's not good. I told you what I thought coming into this year. I thought the Bengals were going to have a problem. And I thought the Bengals were going to have a problem because of the offseason. Like, you had Joe Burrow, who can say he's feeling better, but like, you can still see him kind of working that throwing hand out, right? Like, I don't think he's 100%. So you had a quarterback who could not really be a quarterback during the offseason. I had one receiver that was out due to injury. I had one receiver that was out due to contract issues, right? Like, this team went the entire offseason not as a team. And when this is the risk that you run building an NFL franchise, building an NFL team, I should say, that is predicated on timing and precision. You run this risk. If you are predicated on timing and precision, and you find yourself in a spot where you can't be working on timing and precision for any length of time, it's real easy to get bad. It's real easy to lose it all. This is why, historically, not consensus, but historically speaking, if you are, say, a college football playoff team and you make it to the playoffs, this is why I have said, as much as I, as a fan, enjoy it, as somebody who wants the best football, I don't. This is why I've always had a problem with there being a damn near 2-month layoff between the end of college football's regular season and the playoffs. One of the reasons I'm actually glad for the 12-team playoff is because now teams that are predicated on precision and timing, teams like, I don't know, the Oregon Ducks, for instance, they are not going to have the same length of time where all they can do is practice against air, right? Because you can't simulate a game. It's every coach you've ever talked to will tell you. You can go as hard as you want. You can be as disciplined as you want. But at the end of the day, there just is no way to simulate a football game against a different team. There's just no way to do it. And so the way that I've always looked at it as, if you're a college team and you're built on precision and timing, you have an inherent disadvantage built in headed to the playoffs. Well, with an NFL team, like, this is why I say, and again, I'm not saying this to talk gambling. I'm using gambling to make a point. This is why weeks 1 and 2 of the NFL season, I bet every under on every game. Why? Because NFL offenses need time to click, need time to find their rhythm, need time to get on the same page, need time to build that chemistry. Defense is a little bit less so, right? At the end of the day, I can just tell my guys on the defensive side of the football, go run a 3-4 base with a double high safety and, like, just play defense. And it's a little bit easier. With an offense, my quarterback and all 3 or 4 or 5 receivers got to be on the same page. My running back needs to learn the pacing and timing and spacing of the offensive line. My quarterback needs to understand the pacing of the running back who is playing off the pacing of the offensive line. There's all these different little relationships that have to be considered when you are talking about an NFL offense. And I think the Bengals got hurt by that because they did not have an offseason that allowed them to get to that point. I got Jamar Chase over here doing a holdout. I got T. Higgins over there injured. I got Joe Burrow, who was saying last night, I still got scar tissue in my hands that is impacting the flexibility in my hands. My man's getting like massage therapy on his hand to try to break that scar tissue down. I'll tell you right now, for those of you that don't know, and if you're on the stream, you may be able to see it. Inside of my left thumb, if you look at my left hand, you'll see a bump at the base of my thumb. That's scar tissue. In my 11th, going into 11th grade, which was 2 years ago now? Oh, God. Oh, going into my 11th grade, off season one time, I fell and I got an injury that's what's known as a gamekeeper's thumb. Basically, I popped every tendon and ligament that connects my thumb to my hand. When it happened, my thumb was quite literally just dangling off the end of my hand. All right. And I had two options. Option number one was surgery to surgically reattach those tendons and those ligaments. Option number two was to put my hand, my thumb in a cast and hold it there for a number of months and let it heal naturally. And when we were going through the process, the orthopedic doctor that I was working with said, look, here's the deal. If we go in there and we surgically repair it, there is a chance that it could end up not going well, and you could have limited mobility, limited use of your thumb. B, we could accidentally cause nerve damage, which could cause you to either not have feeling in your thumb or lose usage of it entirely. Or we can put you in a cast. We can let that thing heal up, in which case you may not get 100% flexibility in your thumb back, but we will be able to make sure it heals and you still have feeling and yada, yada, yada.
What do you need a thumb for?
Opposable thumbs are literally what separated us from the rest of the great apes. Opposable thumbs in a bigger brain cavity. That's what did it.
Maybe some of you.
That's more than fair. So I have a mound of scar tissue in my thumb. If you're not watching on the stream, you should go there, facebook.com. Not to look at my thumb, you weirdos, just to join. But
well, you are showing it.
I am.
So if you're into fingers,
if you're into
or thumbs, yeah,
for just $9.99 a month, you can subscribe to my only thumbs. So I got this scar tissue bump, and what I can tell you is it healed, but I don't actually have full flexibility back of my thumb because I didn't learn this until way too late. When that was healing and coming together, what should have happened is I should have had the therapy that Joe Burrow has, literally constant hand massages and flexibility work. Nobody told me that. I didn't know that. And so I don't have full flexibility. I can't open my thumb out and it's not as strong on my left hand as my right hand. Sucks as a guitar player. But anyway, the point here is Joe Burrow is still going through that process. This is a long rehab stint. So he's still going through that process. It's really difficult
knowing that the refs are on the other team's side and you can take hits like that. That's going to make your rehab process a lot longer.
Stop it. So you had Jamar Chase holding out for a new contract. You had T. Higgins out due to injury. I had Joe B., who was not capable of having the offseason that you would want a quarterback who runs this type of offense to have. And I would point out, with all of those things considered, my man still went for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in this game. Guy's still pretty damn good. I still don't think he's back to 100% yet. And I believe that the Bengals are just now getting on the same page. The problem is they bumped up to the Ravens last night. And the Ravens are a very good football team. So I think what you saw last night was two really good football teams, except one of them has been on the same page all year long, and the other one is just getting there. I think the Bengals are going to be fine. They've got the Chargers, winnable game. Steelers, winnable game. Cowboys, winnable game. Titans, unlosable game. Browns, winnable game. Broncos, winnable game. Steelers, winnable game. That's the rest of the ride. The Cincinnati Bengals might have the easiest back half of the schedule in the National Football League. The question mark is, can they take advantage of it? Well, if that team threw for 450 and 4 touchdowns last night, the answer is yes. But they do not have any more room for error. They will have to, I think, in the final, what are we looking at, 7 games? I don't think they can do worse than 6-1 if they want to get into the playoffs. Are they a threat if they get into the playoffs? You're damn right they are. But I think they got to go 6-1 the rest of the ride to get there. Super Bowl caliber sports flash from the great one.
The Baltimore Ravens, after they paid the refs, came back from the largest deficit they've faced in 3 seasons, and the Ravens defense stopped a Cincinnati 2-point conversion with 38 seconds left to win 35-34 and nearly took Joe Burrow's head off. Thriller over the Bengals. Lamar Jackson threw 3 4-quarter touchdowns passes to rally from down 21-7 and finished the night 25-33 for 290 yards and 4 touchdowns. Another game, another win, as Carolina Hurricanes streak has grown to 8 after defeating Pittsburgh 5-1. Jack Roslovic scored twice, while Jordan Martinuk added another en route to the win. Carolina is tied with the Jersey Devils atop the Metropolitan Division. Tune in tonight at 7 as Furman Paladins take on the Belmont Bruins in hardcourt action. It's Furman versus Belmont right here on your home for Paladins basketball, the Fan, upstate. Bumpkin and college.
Message brought to you by MTC Federal. Next level banking. Experience next level banking from MTC Federal. Our new digital banking platform with enhanced security has all the tools you need to bank anywhere, anytime. Learn more at mtcfederal.com. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Mommy, want to play a game with me and Dad? Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with Dayquil VapoCool. It's Dayquil plus a Russian Vicks vapors.
Wow.
Come on, let's let Mommy guess.
You guys are amazing. And so is Dayquil VapoCool.
Dayquil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use it today. Keep out of your food.
It takes a lot to prepare for game day as a dedicated fan.
Good morning, Lisa, whoever you may be.
Tailgate meal might be most important of all. That's why Hellman's Real Mayonnaise is the MVP. Hellman's Mayonnaise is the secret to bring out the rich ingredients on your game day dishes. From buffalo chicken dip to your favorite stuffed sandwich and everything in between. So give it a try. And mayo game day.
Notice Rob's side of the room is slowly succumbing to the dark side. More proof that he's a Sith. Even though I dressed as a Sith for Halloween, it was like opposite day. The darkness is taking over Rob's side of the room.
Absolutely not.
No, the darkness is taking over your side of the room.
Oh, well, literally.
Yeah, it is. I mean, yes. Soon he will fully assimilate. And then you'll know he's wearing the sunglasses to hide his red Sith eyes. Or those yellow looking ones that Anakin had when he turned like, yeah.
Coming up on the show, just confirmed, 8:40 a.m., Chris Miller will join the program, the host of the pre, half, and post-game shows for the South Carolina Gamecocks. We'll talk a little Gamecock football with Chris Miller coming up at 8:40, 9 o'clock. Kevin and John of the Moving the Chains podcast will be here to run you through the high school football action of the weekend. And then whatever else you guys want to get to for the rest of the ride. All right. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:01 a.m. You have less than 59 minutes until you got to be up, showered, dressed, kempt, not unkempt.
Yeah, you want to be kempt. You
kempt.
Definitely don't want to be unkempt.
Be kempt.
I know it's Friday, but kempt yourself, people.
Kempt yourself. All right. Get kempt. Get in the car. Get to work. Get in front of the office. Get to the computer. Get logged in. Respond to those emails. And then at around, 8:07 a.m., take that break. Now, what I'd like you to do is when you get to work, when you open up that computer, the first thing I want you to do is go to thefanupstate.com. And I want you to go to thefanupstate.com on your computer. I want you to push the play button that's right on the middle of the page. And I want you to continue to listen to the Rob Brown Show at work. And then when we go to our first break of the 8 o'clock hour, around 8:15, then you can get up, walk down the hallway, go to the water cooler, fill up one of those annoyingly small. Why are those styrofoam cups so small?
They beat the paper things. I can't handle the fill of the paper.
The cone
things.
cups?
Yeah, because I know they're wet on the inside, and it just bothers me.
What?
I told you,
Wait, what?
I don't like the wet paper, and so so you can feel the cold come through the paper, and it makes the paper feel wet on those little cone things. So I don't like the texture when you're trying to drink out of those either. It's just not good. Ugh.
You know, I get the popsicle stick thing.
And all paper straws should be caught on fire.
I get the popsicle stick thing because it does have like a texture to it. And I understand adverseness, being adverse.
Yeah, adverseness works for me. Yeah,
I understand being adverse to certain textures. I for one, I don't eat nuts, almonds, cashews, whatever. I just don't like the texture of particular shelled nuts. Okay, so I get it. But the concept of being adverse to a paper cup because it's wet on the side that you're not touching is wild to me.
It's because think about it. It sweats like the side of a side of a Diet Dr. Pepper bottle after it's been sitting out for a while. It's the condensation that sweats. Same thing with a paper cup. And plus it's the same thing as a popsicle stick when you're drinking out of the paper cup. No, they've stopped doing that though. I think. Do they still have those in places?
Yeah, for sure.
They hate trees.
I don't
Look, there was a video of a man who got battered last night.
I don't like paper cups because they're wet on the inside. You know what else is? Every cup. If it's not wet on the inside, it's not a cup.
Yeah, but they're not made of paper.
Okay. All right. Okay. Hey, it's time for the water cooler cheat sheet.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying, "Burn it down! Burn it down!" First bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Texter says aversion. Yes, that's the word I was looking for and completely incapable of finding. Thank you.
Really good word.
Aversion. I have an aversion.
Mr. Vocabulary over there would know that.
I did. I think I was so stunned that you're anti-paper cup because it's wet on the inside. My brain was spinning in circles trying to come up with a response to that, so much that I blanked out on how to words good for a minute there. Water cooler cheat sheet, top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports this AM. Let us begin, ladies and gentlemen, with item number 1. Facing the largest deficit in the fourth quarter that he has faced in 3 years. Lamar Jackson able to come up with another dazzling display in the fourth quarter. 3 touchdown passes and 1 scramble that turned a potential 20-yard loss into a 10-yard gain. Lamar Jackson found Rashad Bateman in the end zone, and with a flick of the wrist was able to get the 35th point up on the board for the Baltimore Ravens. Here's my question. Oh no, someone threatens almighty Patrick. We can't have it.
What? Oh, I thought you were talking about Baltimore and Cincinnati.
Jackson threw 3 fourth quarter touchdown passes. The Ravens stopped Cincinnati on a 2-point conversion with 38 seconds left to play to hold off the Bengals 35-34 on Thursday night. The Ravens rallied from a 21-7 third quarter deficit, overcoming a monster game from Jamar Chase, 267 yards, 3 touchdown catches for him.
Whatever.
Baltimore coach John Harbaugh said, quote, "It starts with Lamar and oftentimes it ends with Lamar, but in between Lamar and Lamar, there's a lot of great players out there that are surrounding him." I think that's kind of where our offense is at right now. The Ravens amassed 389 total yards of offense. 231 of them came in the fourth quarter. Chase finished with 11 grabs for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a 5-yard tutty in the final minute to bring the Bengals within 1 point. Cincinnati, which had lost to Baltimore in overtime last month, decided that instead of risking that, they were either going to win it or lose it. With 38 seconds left to play, decided to go for 2 and the lead. Joe Burrow's pass for Tanner Hudson sailed high. Zach Taylor said after the game, quote, "We had our opportunity. We got down there, went for 2, and it just didn't work out for us. This team is going to continue to put us in good positions, and there's going to be a point in the season where that turns," end quote. The 14-point deficit, as mentioned, the largest for the Baltimore Ravens since the finale of the 2022 regular season at Cincinnati, a game in which Jackson missed because of his injury. The last time the Ravens trailed by 14 with Jackson on the field was 3 years earlier to the night, back on November 7, 2021, when Baltimore rallied from a 24-10 deficit to beat Minnesota 34-31 in that game. Cincinnati had the ball up 14 in the third, but a fumble by Chase Brown gave the Ravens a short field. Lamar Jackson scrambled along the sideline, set up a Derrick Henry 1-yard touchdown run with the ball at the 11. Jackson dropped back, retreated all the way back to the 30, then outran the entire Cincinnati defense to the sideline, turned upfield, managed to stay in bounds all the way down to the 1-yard line. Derrick Henry would end up punching it in to wrap up. Lamar Jackson finished through the air, 25 of 33 for 290 and 4 touchdowns. He also had 33 on the ground. Derrick Henry, 16 totes for 68 yards and 1 touchdown. Tylan Wallace finished leading all receivers for the Ravens, 115 yards on 3 catches, including an 84-yard touchdown. Touchdown passes also to tight end Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman, as well as Nelson Aguilar. For the Bengals, Joey B had a night, 34 of 56 for 428 yards and 4 touchdowns. Jamar Chase caught 11 footballs for 264 yards and 3 of those touchdowns. The other one went to tight end Tanner Hudson, who had 42 yards on 6 grabs and 1 tutty. However, the Bengals, and this is where the game gets lost, had just 49 rushing yards, 42 of them from Chase Brown when it was all said and done.
Also, the most egregious non-call since that infamous New Orleans non-call back in the day.
I don't know. Chiefs had one against Atlanta. That was pretty bad.
The most
too.
Egregious since that New Orleans non-call. And the guy who stands up for non-calls, Rob Brown, of course, is going to stand up against those evil referees and tell us why they should have called hands to the face against a quarterback, and they should have gotten another play.
Robo umps now.
They wouldn't have caught that.
They would have.
They would not have caught that. Challenges probably would have been a good thing. But
gosh, imagine if you just had a guy in the booth that challenged every call without ever stopping the game unless it needed to be stopped. What if you had one guy that sat up there and he had all the camera angles and he challenged every time a flag came out, he went, nah.
Would that guy have thrown the flag on that play?
You have to think so, right?
No, I didn't say think so. I'm asking you your opinion. Would that guy have thrown a flag on that play?
I would like to think so. I don't know is the answer because there's not guy.
Wait. Your way is supposedly infallible. It's the way to solve all the problems. So of course he would have made that call.
First off, no. I never said it was infallible. I definitely said it is better than just regular-ass refs on the field. It's definitely better than that, as is evidenced by the fact that even you came in heated about it today.
Ravens paid the refs.
Damn! Joey B and the Bengals fall to the Ravens 35-34, your final score last night. Let us move on to item number 2. We have all been captivated, motivated, fascinated by the story of the spawn of Bronny James. Well, Bronny James is going to be taking a brief respite from the NBA roster of the LA Lakers as he has been assigned for detail to the Lakers G League team down in wherever their G League team is, South Bay. Poof. Wherever that is. Bronny James will be on the Lakers roster for tonight's game against the Philadelphia 76ers. He will join the South Bay G League team, according to sources, for their game tomorrow. Home games between South Bay and Salt Lake City over the weekend. Lakers coach JJ Redick said that the plan for Bronny, quote, to move between the Lakers and South Bay has always been the plan since day one. And, quote, James and his representative Clutch Sports discussed development through his pre-draft process with NBA teams. Bronny told teams that he was more than happy to bounce back and forth between the NBA and the G League as was necessary. Sources said that Paul advocated for a standard contract, not a two-way deal before the draft, while making it clear he and James were fully open to the developmental process. Players drafted in the mid to late second round typically spend time in the G League gaining coaching, game repetitions, and structure in their respective teams' programs, according to ESPN. During the 23-24 season, 23 of 28 players selected in the second round of the 2023 draft spent time in the G League. Of course, Bronny James, the 55th selection in this year's draft, has appeared in 4 games this season for the Lakers, one of them in the Lakers season opener back on October 25th when he and LeBron became the first ever father-son duo to play in an NBA game at the same time. But Bronny will be now sent down to the minors to get some reps, to get some time, to get some developmental work in before he makes his way back up to the show, back up to the bigs, back up to play with his pops one more time again. Let's get to item number 3. Until the winning streak comes to its end, every Carolina Hurricanes game will be in the water cooler cheat sheet. Why? Because that is, would you like to count them with me, kids? I'm happy to do it for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 consecutive dubs for the Carolina Hurricanes, who are now first place in the Metropolitan Division. They are tied with the New Jersey Devils, 20 points apiece for both. However, the Devils have played 14 games. The Carolina Hurricanes have played only 12. So they have reached the level faster than the Devils. And that is why they are currently listed as first in the Metropolitan. Last night, they earned a 5-1 win over the Pittsburgh Penguins when it was all said. You ever heard the clip of Benedict Cumberbatch trying to pronounce the word penguins? He can't do it. It's one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
I bet it's still magnificent, though.
It's fantastic.
The voice of Smaug.
I'll find it during the break. It's pretty good. Anyway, against Sid the Kid Crosby and the gang last night, it didn't matter. It was all Canes, a two-score game for Jack Roslovich last night. You also netted a goal from Eric Robinson. You had a goal from Jordan Martinook, and you had a goal from Jacob Slavin last night. The Canes are a juggernaut right now. I mean, it's just a fun team. And part of the reason why is they are so free to play on the forecheck because Peter Kochetkov has been chef's kiss in the goal. He stopped 35 of 36 shots last night. Did the 6'3", 205-pound Russian, 7-1 on the year, with a goals against ratio of 2.5. That is good for 11th in the NHL, a save percentage of 90% when it's all said and done, which is shockingly low, but it also must be taken into consideration the fact that the Carolina Hurricanes, when they have given up goals, They've given up a few of them. You go back to the beginning of the season where they had the 2 losses. They allowed the Preds to score 6, the Panthers to score 5, and they have had a couple of games that they've won while giving up 3 or 4 goals, including 3 nights ago when they took on the Flyers and did win, but they won 6-4. But Kochetkov has played exceptionally well in the net and what it's allowed to do, and I'm good with this. Because the Hurricane forecheck is so good at creating opportunities, extending possessions, and ultimately finding the net that they can play on the front. They can play on the forecheck, which forecheck, for those of you that aren't hockey guys, means sending guys into the offensive side of the ice, sending the 3 forwards down there and playing aggressive. In football, we'd say playing aggressively. In soccer, we'd say playing on the front foot. In hockey, it's the forecheck. This team is so good at playing on the forecheck. This team is so good at being efficient with the puck up front that they are willing to allow teams to counterattack, which is where the majority of the goals against Pewter has come from. It's been teams breaking away on a counterattack, but they are so few and far between that ordinarily you can, Carolina can give away a goal or 2 on a counter from an opposing team and not have to worry about it because the forecheck is so good, they're getting 4 or 5 on any given night. This team's fun to watch play. If you like fast, aggressive, upfront, attacking third hockey, and you're not watching the Carolina Hurricanes, you're missing out. This team's fun to watch right now. 8-game winning streak has them tied in points atop the top of the Metro Division, but number 1 in terms of efficiency in games played. Carolina's fun to watch right now. If you're not watching them, you're missing out on just good. Even if you're not a hockey fan, they're fun to watch because it just never stops.
Banger after banger.
We got to take a break. Back after this, talk a little football when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Why am I in trouble, Mike? I'm a golden boy. Golden boys don't get in trouble. Look, sort of blue sky. Weird.
Are we allowed to have those here?
She always watches because she's awesome. And I am going to have to take us off the stream for just a moment until Rob gets back because they got to go do a thing. So, hang around. We'll be right back.
Yes, it is.
Probably got 3 hours of sleep last night, so
Uh-oh.
who knows what else I was like. There's pain that I napped too long, and then the game I was playing on the side, I'll just go into this one other area, then I'm gonna get ready to go to bed, and it turned into a mini boss fight. As in, oh look, I have to fight a dragon, backed by an evil god. I'm defeating said dragon. Then the evil god pulls the dragon back, sends it back, and it now has 2 heads. I'm defeating that, pulls it back, now it's got 3 heads. And is spewing out stuff called blight, and from the blight pop up trolls. So, and I went against my rule that I always have: don't play something that gets your heart rate up before you go to bed. And wasn't on purpose. But then you're in it, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna stop, go back to an earlier save, or I shouldn't be able to beat this thing. Let me see if I can beat this, and I did.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate. The Clemson football Tigers drop an L at the house to the Louisville Cardinals last Saturday. They get back on the horse this weekend as they head up to Virginia Tech, Blacksburg, to take on the Hokies. This game is now massively important because, as we have talked about, style points matter. Like it or not, the folks that will be in the college football playoff selection room are going to award points based on style points. Now, I don't know how much they matter because, as we talked about with John Blau back on Monday, if you missed that interview, it was in the 8 o'clock hour of Monday show. You can go to thefanupstate.com and go to the podcast page, or follow the Rob Brown Show wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, whatever. You can go grab those podcasts, go back to the Monday show, listen to the 840 segment, listen to our talk with John Blau, who broke down the loss to Louisville and previewed the Virginia Tech game. In order to keep pace in the conference, which I think is probably the only way that Clemson is going to get in, there is still the shot at an at-large bid. And the good news for Clemson in the quest, if it becomes necessary, the good news for Clemson in the quest for an at-large bid is that the College Football Playoff Selection Committee has once again proven, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not alone in this thought, and I'll tell you why coming up later in the show, has once again proven that one of the considerations that they undertake when putting together the bracket, whether it's 4 teams or 12, is the brand. Nope. Right? Nope. Yes, it is. Nope. I'm not asking. I'm saying. That is not a question. That is a statement. One of the things they take into consideration is a brand, and the reason I can say that comfortably is the Indiana Hoosiers. If Ohio State played the same schedule that Indiana's played so far and was undefeated, Ohio State would be number 2 or 3 in the country at the worst.
No, they'd be number 1.
Nah, I don't know. If you hadn't played Oregon and Oregon was also undefeated, at the worst, honestly, at the worst, you'd be number 2. Yeah, and I say that because you're number 2 now with the schedule you've played in a loss.
Which is more proof that they'd be number 1 if they didn't have a loss. So because you're at 2 even with a loss.
However it works out, do we agree that if the Ohio State University Horse Chestnuts would have played Indiana's schedule but were 9-0 with Indiana's schedule, they would be one of the top teams in America, 1, 2, or 3 at worst?
Probably.
Okay, then brand matters. And how does it not matter?
They were at 2 or 3. They were top 4 the entire time in that irrelevant poll that no longer matters, the entire season. And then they lost to what is now the number 1 team, was not the number 1 team at the time.
And why?
They were ranked lower. And they played that team within 2 points. That's the reason why they're at 2. It's because of how tight they played the number one team.
Not the question.
Has nothing to do with branding.
It has nothing to do with branding.
Nope, has nothing to do with branding.
Nothing to do with
You played what is now the number one team in the nation to within 2 points, and if someone knew how to slide correctly, it would have been a Buckeye victory.
If Ohio State, that's not the question I asked. If Ohio State played Indiana's schedule, which does not include the Oregon Ducks, and they were a perfect 9-0 with the exact same scores that Indiana has put up so far, where would they be ranked?
Number one,
because of brand,
not because of branding. I get it. If you try to go with another team, it's not working with this one. It's just not.
So then, why is Indiana number 9 if Ohio State would be number 1?
Because the strength of schedule.
No. You just said if they played Indiana's schedule and had Indiana's results, they'd be number 1. So why is Indiana not? There is only one answer: branding. That's it. There's no other way. If Ohio State played Indiana's schedule and put up the numbers that Indiana's put up and the scores Indiana's put up, you just said they'd be number 1 in the country. But Indiana's number 9.
Why are the other undefeated teams not at number 2 and 3? Why just saying Indiana?
Branding. Like legitimately, I believe.
Is BYU undefeated? Is that who the other one is?
BYU, who is number what?
Obviously.
Right.
Yeah,
you don't remember because they ain't in the top dogs.
They have no good branding at all. BYU. I mean, they're talked about every single season.
Stop it.
They definitely
are.
In
what world are you putting BYU's branding on pace with Ohio State?
You talk about BYU all the time, and I get all my sports from Rob Brown. So if you talk about them, they must be relevant.
BYU, who is ranked, by the way, behind Indiana, just so we're clear, because #branding. So here's the argument that I have. I've got a BYU team that knocked off SMU, handed them their only loss, a front runner in the ACC. I've got a BYU team that knocked off Kansas State, who was a top 18 team at the time, a Kansas State team that has only lost 1 game since then. Granted, it was a bad loss at Houston, but only 1 game since then.
All right, so Indiana has better branding than BYU then. Because BYU beat better teams from what you just said. Why are they not ranked ahead of Indiana? Indiana must have killer branding then, according to what you do. Well,
if they had killer branding, they would not be 8 and 9.
Well, obviously they have better branding than the teams that beat better teams.
Here's the reality. Once again, if I was a Buckeye fan or Georgia fan, I'd say the same thing. But the reality here is, if I took either of those teams,
I wish your team were better.
I don't care about my team.
No, well, you should.
I don't care about my team.
I want you to be happy.
Because I, in the role that I am in right now, am not a fan. I'm not a fan. All right. You can't. That's fine. I can't. I take my fan cap off. There's nothing to do with who I like or dislike, and everything to do with the state of college football. The reality here is that if the
why
Indiana
isn't Miami
Hoosiers,
number 1? Because your branding thing doesn't work here. Because,
yes, it does. Miami's brand has been choke artist for 20 years. If Miami wins a national championship this year, if everything goes that way, the branding becomes Miami's back. They're a powerhouse again. They are now back amongst the blue bloods of college football. And next year's Miami team, don't get me wrong, amongst the brands, now strength of schedule matters more. Miami does not have the brand nor anywhere close to the strength of schedule thus far that Georgia, Ohio State, or Oregon have. But they're number 4. Indiana, I would make the argument, and I think successfully. I think I could successfully make the argument that BYU has played the same, if not a stronger schedule than the University of Miami. Miami's got Florida, who is 4-4, Florida A&M, Ball State, South Florida, Virginia Tech, Cal, 1-8 Florida State, and Duke. I would make the argument so if you want to lean on strength of schedule, and that's a genuine reason these teams are ranked the way they're ranked, then BYU should be ahead of Miami. They have a harder strength of schedule than Miami. But Miami's 4 and BYU's 9. Please explain to me why.
Because according to you, Miami has better branding. Not the best branding, but better branding than Indiana and BYU.
Yes. But if you disagree with that, then explain to me why BYU's 9 and Miami's 4.
I don't know. You're confusing everyone.
I'm not confusing anybody at all. My argument is perfect. Explain to me why BYU with a more difficult schedule is 9 and Miami is 4. Come up with any reason that's not because branding.
Well, Rob, on a neutral field, BYU could not beat any of those teams that are ahead of them. That's why they're ahead of them.
Oh, so we do rank based on prognostication and not results. Then say that. Then own that so that we can have that discussion. But that's not, I've always been told that's not how we do this.
You know, here's the thing. Neither one of us know how they're actually doing this.
Oh.
Because we are not in the room with the people who are far superior intellect-wise, the guys who really know ball, because they are the ones who are deciding who's ranked where they're ranked.
Here's the reality.
I would guess it's a combination of all the things that we've talked about. And different people look at it differently in that room. Not everyone is of like mind and look at this criteria the same way because they're all humans with different thoughts and different processes.
Everybody feel warm and fuzzy now? All right, good. Let me kick the legs out from under that. It's because of branding. Okay? It's because brands bring eyeballs, and this has always been about eyeballs.
So why should we care? Why should we watch football? If it's all about branding, we know who's going to win. Alabama's going to win the whole thing somehow.
No, I mean
because of branding.
No, because once you get to the point where you have brands in positions to be there, once you have brands in position to be there, now we play the games, right? Florida, I've said before and I'll say again, Florida State didn't get bounced last year for any other reason other than the University of Alabama had to be there because you can't have a playoff without the Southeastern Conference. That was the rationale behind it. And it was just blamed on, no, it's because they didn't have a quarterback. Well, we've sent Ohio State with backup quarterbacks. Hell, we sent Alabama with a backup quarterback in years gone by.
Right,
this is the first time ever last year that we said no because of a backup quarterback, which leads me to believe one of two things. Either A, you're inconsistent with your reasoning behind the rankings, or B, you weren't willing to have a playoff without the almighty SEC involved.
Or it's quality of backups. Backup quarterbacks, the backups that both those teams were good enough to start anywhere else. That's what it was. And the backup at Florida State obviously wasn't because it kept them out of the playoffs.
Please don't hurt yourself twisting yourself around with the mental gymnastics over there. Because the Alabama backup quarterback, we didn't know a damn thing about him.
That was hurtful.
I mean, I have nothing else. It's just, it seems like I say X and there's always a, whoa, no, but actually, the goalpost is on wheels.
All right,
with this conversation.
So we're doing our job debating about sports.
I agree.
And I'm doing something wrong, apparently.
Now, I didn't say you're doing anything wrong. I'm saying you're wrong. You didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
You just are wrong.
And I'm saying you're wrong.
I know that.
So there.
But
talk
once
backs.
again, I asked the very
means
simple
I won.
question. If I plugged Ohio State into Indiana's schedule and the numbers, stats, results, and points were the same, where would Ohio State be ranked? And your answer was 1 or 2.
All right. So you're right to a degree.
I know.
But it's different for every single team. Again, you're saying Miami's not there because of branding, but other people are. And they definitely are there because of branding.
No. Stop there because that is incorrect. What I'm saying is Miami is at 4 because they are a national brand, and now we consider the strength of schedule an opponent, and the national brand with a crappy strength of schedule and opponent.
They used to be a national brand, and they're not anymore. That's what you said.
Yeah, that's true.
So which one is it?
Both. They are a nationally recognized brand. The Miami Hurricanes, for a very long time, were the creme de la creme of college football. They are a nationally recognized brand. I would say that they are not as nationally recognized as, I don't know, theoretically, Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, for sure. Not today, not in 2024. But they are a national brand, which is why, as an undefeated ACC team, they are 4 spots ahead of an undefeated. If anything, Alonzo, you should be madder than hell about this. An undefeated ACC team is getting 4 spots better love over an undefeated Big Ten team.
I'm not conference guy. I'm not Big Ten. I'm not SEC. It means more. I'm not. I mean, I look at the signs and the better teams seem to come out of those conferences, but I'm not Big Ten guy. The Big Ten's getting screwed over. I'm not that guy.
I don't know what to say here. I believe that the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, and this should matter to you so that you don't get, and by you, I mean the royal you as college football fans, you don't get FSU'd in the future. My point all last year was like, I'm not butthurt for the Noles. The point that I am making out here is that the Noles could have been anybody last year. And my belief is they got bounced for branding. They got bounced because they couldn't have a playoff without the almighty SEC in there. And Alabama just happened to be the team in that role. So, if anyone can explain to me why it is that Indiana at 9-0 out of a Power 5 conference, and forget BYU, we can include BYU because BYU's played a tougher schedule than Miami has. But for the sake of the conference discussion, someone explain to me why Indiana at 9-0 is at number 8 when if Ohio State played the same schedule with the same stats and the same results, we all know they would be number 2. Because I've got no argument other than branding. They're not the horse chestnuts. That's all I got. Does anybody have a good reason beyond that? I wish you the best in coming up with one. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
By the way, I absolutely believe in what I'm saying, but you guys do know that that's what I'm supposed to do, right? Do you get that, right? And everyone who disagrees with me, every one of you, Facebook user, Mike Jones, all you guys, you're wrong. No, I got to pee too. What are you doing? Short break, by the way. And you can't be defiant unless someone's over you. And, you know, not my balls. We'll be back in a minute. Nah, man, Mel Brooks is my boss. I work for Mel Brooks. Rob is hate texting. Can't believe I have to work with this guy. He's so dumb. I miss Diesel.
What you call me the other? Oh, my ex.
Yes. That will forever be funny to me. I don't care if it's funny to anybody else. Obviously, I don't care.
Wrapping up hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Texture said, Rob, if Ohio State played Army's schedule, they would 100% be a top 10 team because it's Ohio State. Yeah,
all right.
I agree.
I don't know about that. I don't know about the Army thing.
He said top 10, not number 1.
Yeah, because the Indiana thing, Ohio State's still playing basically the same teams. I mean, there's a couple of non-conference that's different, but they're playing the same teams.
Again, I wouldn't even be mad if Indiana was number 5 behind Miami. I would be fine with having them behind a 7-1 Ohio State because of their one loss, a 7-1 Georgia because of their one loss.
If you, Rob Brown, were to take the branding away and only look at it for what's on the football field, where should Ohio State be ranked right now?
I would have Oregon 1. I would have, because I do think strength of schedule should be a factor. I would have Oregon 1. I would have Georgia 2. I would have Ohio State 3. I would have Miami 4. I would have.
Are you looking at the AP? Because you're doing exactly
I'm not.
where the AP.
No, I'm not. I don't have the AP pulled up.
Okay,
I'm looking at
right.
the college football playoff rankings and doing it that way. But again, regardless of what I think, should Indiana being in the Big Ten?
But if you were on the committee, this is how you would do it. The numbers how you just said. So you flip-flop Georgia and Ohio State.
Yes.
Despite the whole branding thing, you still think those
Ohio State
are the
has,
top 3 teams
yes,
at least. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Ohio State has a better loss than Georgia for sure. Georgia has a more difficult week-to-week schedule than Ohio State.
Agreed.
Right? So I do think that matters. But my only point here is, does undefeated in a Power 5 conference not mean anything? And the answer should be, if we're being honest, the answer should be yes. We know the answer is yes. And we know the answer is yes because of last year. We know undefeated in a Power 5 conference doesn't mean a damn thing unless that Power 5 conference is the SEC or Big Ten.
Can you explain Clemson before the loss last week and how far down they were ranked?
So how far down? They were a top 10 team.
Still.
They weren't undefeated.
Branding-wise, Clemson for a while had a brand that was known nationally to a degree because they won a couple national championships. That puts you on the map a little bit.
I don't disagree.
Or a lot.
Which is why of the one-loss teams, they were right there in the mix. They were ahead of Indiana and BYU.
But should they have been?
No.
Branding-wise?
No.
Okay.
Well, branding-wise, again, yes, I would say to this day, Clemson is still one of the, I would say, top 10 brands in college football in America, without a doubt.
Probably true.
Now,
but
do I think they're staying there? Not if they keep doing this crap.
Yeah, because this is where they used to be, where they are now, losing a couple games, being in the conversation, but not really being in the conversation.
I absolutely think Clemson's brand is on a downward trajectory. Yes, without a doubt. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. I'm saying that you got your ass kicked by Louisville at your own house. You were in a game with Georgia for a half, and then Georgia blew you out of the water.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah. For the first half, it was like, okay, Clemson's still Clemson. Second half, Georgia, pardon the expression, dog walked you. Right? So, Clemson with one loss, though, was still right there in that top 10 argument with a loss. Your top 10 teams, just so for those of you that are maybe following from a distance, at number 11 is 6-2 Alabama, ahead of 7-1 Boise State. I honestly don't even really have a problem with that. Now, Boise State was undefeated with the numbers they have. I'd say Boise State deserved a top 10 nomination, but they don't. They have a loss and it was a bad one. SMU 8-1. ACC's not good. I don't have a problem with SMU being at number 13 and fighting their way up. Alabama at number 11, 6-2. I don't really have an issue with that. Because it turns out that while we were all dunking on them like Jordan back in the day, turns out that Vanderbilt loss, not a good loss, but not as bad of a loss as we thought it was. So I don't have a problem with them at 11. Notre Dame, 7-1. I will tell you, Notre Dame at 7-1, their loss might be the worst loss of any of all the one losses in the top 10. Ohio State's one loss was to number 1. Georgia's one loss was to number 11. Texas's one loss was to number 3. Penn State's one loss was to number 2. Tennessee's one loss was to number, where are they at? Tennessee's one loss was to Arkansas, who is not ranked. That's the second worst loss. Indiana doesn't have a loss. BYU doesn't have a loss. Notre Dame's one loss is worse than both of Alabama's 2 losses. Northern Illinois. So I don't have a problem with Notre Dame being at number 10 on the outside too. What I have a problem with is, why are Indiana out of the Big Ten? Why? And honestly, I got less of an argument against BYU being there. But again, I would make the point that BYU's got better wins than a lot of the other teams can claim to have, with a couple of ranked wins in there, including SMU.
Indiana versus Penn State. Who you taking?
I'm taking Penn State. I'm taking Penn State.
And that's not because of branding. That's because
I think on paper they're a better football team.
Okay.
But I would also have said before the season, Indiana's going to be a 6-6 football team. They're 9-0 in the Big Ten. They are first place in that conference. And it's not like a shock anymore, right? I just need people, I need to know what the metrics are. And I think we had this conversation Wednesday with Denton Day. Texter's, and this is a great point. Texter's got a very good point. A very good point. Who was Boise State's one loss to? Number 1, the Oregon Ducks. That's very fair. Boise State should go up there as well. That's a valid point. Texter said Indiana has played nobody. That's why they aren't ranked higher. That's fine, Texter. I'm good with that. Then explain BYU, who has played some bodies. They played number 13 Kansas State. They played at the time unranked, but now top 13 SMU. So if your argument is Indiana ain't played nobody, Paul, which is a fine argument, I'll accept it if that is your argument, then explain to me BYU, who has 2 top 13 wins. So why are they not
again, BYU versus Indiana right now? If it were the playoffs, I don't think that's how that would work. It's right in the middle. So if it was a way a regular tournament works, they probably would be playing each other. You're going with BYU, right?
No, taking the
You're not.
Yeah, Indiana's defense is legitimate. I don't know how good their offense is going to be when they square off against Ohio State.
So you're saying that's in the right order as far as that goes?
Yeah, I think Indiana's better than BYU. I do. And again, I'm not sitting here screaming like, oh, these are 2 of the best 5 teams in America. I don't think that we know yet. Okay? I don't know that we know yet. Texter said, Rob is lying. He picked Penn because of brand. He was all about Indiana yesterday. No, I'll tell you this. There's a reason I would pick Indiana, which is James Franklin still ain't won a damn big game in his career. He's what? What was the stat? 3-3 or 11-27 against top 10 teams that aren't Michigan and Ohio State. And he's 3-15 against Michigan and Ohio State. Like, I'm not convinced James Franklin wouldn't crap the bed against Indiana now too. But for the record, I am all about Indiana. And I am all about Indiana because of the defensive metrics, as I have pointed out a number of times. It is one thing they ain't played nobody, Paul. It's another thing they ain't played nobody, but their defense is ranked top 10 in the overall amount of metrics defensive statistically, and top 15 in every defensive metric. I mean, there's something to be said for that. They ain't played nobody, but they're beating the absolute hell out of the ain't nobodies that they played. Denton Day and I had the conversation on Wednesday. The best thing that could happen in college football today, and I mean this, would be they should stick cameras and microphones in the playoff selection committee's room. There should be a microphone and a camera in there. There should be a mic on every selection committee member, and there should be a camera at the head of the table so that college football fans can get an idea of why the rankings are the way that the rankings are. Why do you have undefeated Indiana? And if the answer is they ain't played nobody, that's fine. But if the answer is they ain't played nobody, they should be behind BYU. And frankly, if the answer is they ain't played nobody in strength of schedule matters, they should be behind Notre Dame, because you're fine with having 7-1 teams ahead of them. And while Notre Dame's one loss was bad, for certain, Notre Dame does have a win over a Louisville team that was top 15 at the time.